You're listening to the Convene Connections podcast with your host, Matthew Currin.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome tonight. I'm so glad to be here. I have Karesa. How are you doing tonight, Karesa?
I'm great. How are you?
Awesome. And I have Wendy. How are you doing tonight, Wendy?
Hey, doing really well. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you guys are here. We're getting ready for our summit. We're going to do a big summit coming up September 17th, the Intersect Drug Prevention Summit. It's going to be the Intersect Virtual Drug Prevention Summit this year. And we're going to talk about that here in just a little bit. But what we're going to do first is let me just have each of you introduce yourself. So, Karesa, why don't you go first?
Sure. I'm Karesa Knight-Wilkerson, and I am the Executive Director of Intersect. We are located in Indiana, central Indiana, and I've been there for 18 years. So
18 years. Awesome.
Love what I do.
Yeah. So, Wendy, how about you?
Sure. I'm Wendy Cook, and I work for Intersect as well. I am the Assistant Director and Project Coordinator of Drug Free Communities Grant. I think I've been with Intersect for about maybe 13 years, I think. I have 4 kids. I'm married, and I live in a little community outside of Anderson, and I love it.
There we go. Indiana, like we were talking about a little bit earlier. I'll be in Indiana for about 2 weeks coming up real soon.
I know. Vroom, vroom.
The big Indy 500. So that's going to be awesome. So let's talk a little bit before we jump into the summit. Let's talk a little bit about what Intersect does. So who wants to take that? Karesa, why don't you take that? Why don't you give an overview of Intersect since you run the place? So.
Sure. Yeah. I just like to tell myself that.
That's right.
Intersect is a prevention agency. And though we work mostly in drug prevention, we like to just say it's a prevention agency where we promote and encourage healthy communities.
Yeah.
And we do that in various ways through prevention.
That's really good. And so, Wendy, give me some specifics. What are some specific things that y'all do, some programs that you guys have?
Sure. So we have several programs, but one of the programs that's been very popular up until COVID was our HIPS exhibit. And that is our Hidden in Plain Sight exhibit, where we actually have it's a traveling trailer that travels around the state of Indiana. And recently we did go out of the state of Indiana, and we actually drove to Arkansas. But this particular exhibit is set up like a kid's bedroom, and there's over 100 items hidden throughout. And the goal, or like how we use this exhibit, is really interactive. So we have parents, community members, grandparents come through, and they engage with one of us, which is we are certified prevention specialists, as well as a local police officer. They engage with us and kind of play hide and seek with the items. And we talk about really what can happen just in a day-to-day life of a teen and what their bedroom can look like, or what they can be hiding in their bedroom. So that's one of my babies, our Hidden in Plain Sight exhibit. I'm really proud of that program that we have, or exhibit that we have. Would you like me to talk about something else?
Yeah, you can.
We also have a program that we run called Workplace Wellness. It's we call it Team Awareness, and we have a stress management and a communication module that we teach. We teach to a variety of businesses and nonprofits, partners, community partners. And that's just been a really big hit in our community as well, especially with even before COVID and everything that's been happening in our community, just our society and how we really just function. And we don't really function very well, right? And so because of that, we have a lot of stress. Yeah. And the information that we share isn't really like mind-blowing, right? The stress management workshop that we host. But what it is it's an opportunity for employees, right, to have an hour and a half, 2 hours to really think about themselves, think about how they manage stress. So, and then we also do a communication workshop as well that really focuses in on how to properly communicate with our coworkers and family. Yeah. We focus in on coworkers.
Yeah, communication is so important. I talk about that all the time because I just think the more you understand how to communicate with people, the more you understand, who you're working with, what their personalities are. It's so important, and I think so many people miss that. They just don't understand those dynamics of communication and how important that is.
Well, and with our workshops that we host, one of the things that make them fun is we have these team building activities that we tie in to our workshops. And so with those team building activities, we really get to see how people engage with each other and how they manage their stress. And then we can really kind of unwrap what's going on within an office setting or within a school setting, whatever, whoever it is that's calling us in.
Yeah. So Karesa, how has it changed in 2020 for you guys? How has this dynamic of what's going on currently changed how Intersect operates?
Well, luckily we were teaching a family-based program called Strengthening Families, and Wendy and some of our other staff and contractors figured out a way to offer it virtually. They were in the middle of the program, so they were already teaching these families, but they were able to have food delivered. They were able to do it through Zoom. And actually, we had a better attendance rate because they were there and they had to do it. Same thing with the workplace wellness that Wendy was speaking of. They were in the middle of doing a larger employer in our county as part of our county, and they were able to host it after, reviewing. So we were happy about that. We are planning. This happened before COVID, but I had already received funding for some resilience training for our teachers and staff at schools and students.
Yeah.
We're working with those schools right now on how are we going to deliver that? How are we going to get those trained? And because many of our schools do not want people in the schools. And then we talked to another person that had went to a training. So that's what I'm in the process of doing right now is helping figure out how we're going to get it there. The schools have no doubt they need it. We have one school that's had several suicides in the last couple of years, and we've had we have a measurement tool through a survey that shows that it's several grade levels in many schools is over 25% that they've thought about suicide in the last 2 weeks when they took the survey. So finding out how to help them stress and resiliency, we can't forget the youth. We're working with the employers, and we know that, but we've got to help the youth and all the stress that our school people are taking on right now with masks and dividers, and it's a lot. So that's what I'm working on with some of our other employees right now. I'm trying to get that going. So we are actually adapting. It's kind of nice because we get a lot of more participation from our coalitions and things, because people show up on Zooms or go to meetings. But we definitely like to see each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we have been in the office a couple of times, but we have just pulled together and we're making it work in some form or fashion. And our schools and our businesses are they're able to adjust as well. Yeah. A lot of businesses, their people aren't in their offices either.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think right now everybody's having to adjust, right? I mean, in the last little bit, everybody's adjusting. Everybody's looking for different ways to work and accomplish the mission and get their, what they have to get done. But along with that, like you said, that brings along a lot of stressors. That brings a lot of anxiety for people. We talk about the fight or flight, right? Some people have taken this on with a fight mentality where I'm going to make a difference. I'm going to change. But there's also the others that have gone into flight mode where it's just wrapped them up. They can't, they don't, want to function or they feel like they can't. So obviously we can look at the numbers, suicides are up, domestic violence is up, sexual assault's up, drug use is up, alcoholism's up, it's all up, So it's really trying to offer those resources. And that's a great thing that you guys do to make a difference in people, people's lives. So that's really, really awesome. So let's talk about this drug prevention summit that we have coming up, because this was, how many times had y'all done the live in-face drug prevention summit that you guys do?
Well, we've been in our county has hosted it 4 times. Intersect has been involved with it 3 times. But so this would be the 5th annual Drug Prevention Summit. The very first year that it was hosted by our county chamber. And then the second year, we came along and we've just kind of continued to build it from there.
Yeah. So what are the goals? What are the goals of this Drug Prevention Summit? What kind of difference and impact are you guys trying to make?
Yeah. Well, I was thinking about this in the midst of this, global pandemic that we're having. We're really looking to meet with community members where they are. So wherever they're going to be is where I want to meet them. So whether that's at their job, if that's at their home, if it's scrolling through their social media accounts, we really want to meet them there. And through this summit, we want to connect and we want to communicate with them.
Absolutely.
And I want to connect and communicate with them about the importance of substance abuse prevention and then mental health awareness. Yeah. So that's really where we're going with this summit. That's, so people that are going to be looking out for this, they're going to have interest of some sort in those topics.
Yeah. And so, Karesa, you just talked about expanding your reach, right? So that's one of our goals with the summit this year, because, I'm working with you guys and it's going to be a virtual summit. And so our goal is that we don't just do this in your county in Indiana, right? That we take this and we go really all across the country, and we pull people from everywhere and get people participating. So talk about that. Why is that so important that we, offer this and expand, what you guys are doing?
Well, because we're bringing in national speakers. These people speak all over the United States, and what goes on here goes on in Illinois and Kentucky and Montana, and it does in various ways. And so these national speakers, this is a great opportunity for them to get some knowledge from these national speakers. It's a pretty reduced rate, so it's a great, you're not spending $700 or $800 per person plus flight to get into a conference. And one thing that Wendy tries to do every time, because Wendy is our main coordinator for the summit, is that she wants them to go away with a job or with something to do, a goal, so that they're not just going to another summit and they get the information and it goes back and gets in our files with all the rest of our summits. Yeah. So we really work on, here's some examples of things that can be done. I think this year we've got one of our neighboring counties coming over and talking about how he has really built up a hotline for underage drinking parties, and to show that it's worked with a reduction, and he's got those numbers. And we actually have that in one of our grants, but we're looking more at an app instead of a phone number. But we want him to talk about that so that people know here's an opportunity to lower your alcohol rates in the community. And then we're going to have some youth on, because, without our youth, we can't really do anything. They're the energy behind everything. But so we always pose questions, but we also give them examples of some of the things, and we don't have all the answers. Yeah. So we like to hear from them as well, and hear from our speakers and what they've seen around the United States. I know one of our speakers, at least, goes around the world, not just around the United States, and he has a plethora of knowledge, and I love just talking to him on Facebook. We just can go back and forth on Facebook sometimes, just because anytime I've got some sort of obscure question, I'm like, we're going to call Carlton, because I don't know the answer to this. And he's got so much knowledge. So it's really great to get to know these speakers, because we become friends and coworkers with them, and we know what their knowledge base is and how they can help us. So Intersect puts it on, but we don't want people to think you have to be in our county or our state to attend it. It's for anybody, and that's what we really truly believe is we are trying to get rid of that repeating have a repeat of everything going on and not coming together as collaborators. I'm always telling my staff, go out and see what's going on, and we'll find a way to fit in that instead of recreate. So we really want this to just be an opportunity for them to do that.
Yeah, I had so I'm doing speaker highlight videos right now, and you'll start to see these roll out. And I had the opportunity to interview Tim the other day. So that was wonderful. Yeah. So we spent about an hour on the phone talking, for about an 8 minute, it's about an 8 minute speaker highlight interview. And he was talking about some of the stuff that, they're doing in that county. It's pretty amazing. The data that he is going to be sharing is something that everybody should be watching it, because they've done an amazing job. And I know that you guys are embarking on that. So, and Wendy, let's talk about that real quick, because one of the things that we're going to be hopefully doing is bringing in some youth and interviewing them. And that'll lead in having Tim talk about, what they're doing over in his county that's near you guys.
Yeah. So we have, with what Tim is doing and he's going to be speaking on, I think we're going to have the youth go first. And we're going to be selecting 4 youth from our community. 2 that are part of a media campaign that we've already got up and running. It's called Be the Majority. And this particular campaign is just a social media campaign reminding youth in our county that the majority of kids are not using, right? Yeah. So we're going to select 2 of those students to be on our youth panel. And then we also are going to have 2 other youth from focus groups that we've done. So we have a coalition in our county that is really passionate about reducing underage drinking. And so we've had a few focus groups with some local students and just really letting them share, like, hey, how do you guys feel about underage drinking? What's happening? And, these focus groups ask a lot of in-depth questions, right? So we're going to target 2 youth from that group and then 2 from our Be the Majority. And we're going to bring them alongside Tim or his spot. And we're going to be just having some conversation with these youth and asking them to share with us and really just to be raw, right? Not to expose anyone, but just to share so that us as adults and as educators and as professionals, that we can be a little bit more knowledgeable about what our youth are thinking.
Yeah, and what they're facing, right? Because I say it a lot is, we're obviously we're all here. The 3 of us are parents, and it's I always say it's not if, it's when, right? It's
Absolutely.
not if, when they get exposed, when that exposure comes up, and how are they going to handle it? And so I think too often, and I'm kind of going off on the parenting side right now, but it's the same for counselors, the same for anybody, is that we want to keep our kids in this safety bubble, right? We want to keep them nice in this safety bubble and just know if we just keep them safe and we don't let them talk to anybody, we don't let them go out, we don't let them do anything, then they're going to be okay. They won't be exposed. That's not happening.
No, it's not. I'm telling you from experience, and she's coming alongside there. She's got 2 children, but I've got 4. And I know that, Matt, you have children. And like my oldest one, he's a good kid. He plays ball. And I mean, he has struggled in the last couple of years. He's like coming to us and he's like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do because all of this is coming at me, all this pressure. And I want to hang with my boys, but I don't want to get in trouble. So there's a ton of pressure.
It is.
Yeah.
No, I'll tell you.
Well, I was just going to tell you, I've got a 7-year-old son that's going to be in 2nd grade and a 12-year-old daughter that's going to be in 7th. And I can tell you that I had to have conversations with her and with him way before I ever thought I was going to have to. And I teach prevention.
Yeah.
It's on social media. It's on their games.
Everywhere. These
kids come to school because of what they saw daddy do or mama do, or Kids come to school with drugs in their backpack, and then so I'd rather them come and ask me so I can give them the honest truth versus what their friends are telling them, which is sometimes so outrageous. So I think it's also important that everybody understands, because before I became a parent, I'm like, oh yeah, you want to try to get them around 5th or 6th grade? No, you're going to have to get them at 6 or 7 years old.
It's
so
crazy.
I was kind of surprised by that.
Well, so I'll tell you a quick story, right? We'll go into the Matt Currin vault, the history vault of me. And we've talked parents and we have athletes, right? So, you have kids. So when I was coming through high school, I transferred to this high school when I was a sophomore. And I was one of 2 sophomores that played varsity football. And I was one of 1 sophomores that played varsity baseball. So I had just transferred to this school. So all my friends really were juniors and seniors. So we went out, had this game, had a good game. I was like, I think 3 for 4 this day. I mean, I had a great game, 3 for 4. I was riding high. I played center field back then. So I went out this night and we went to drink. I was 15. Yeah. I never drank before in my life. Well, guess what? Peer pressure. I went and I started drinking. I ended up with a 0.39 alcohol level, waking up in the hospital with tubes coming out of me, heart monitoring me when I woke up. I had no idea where I was, what happened to me. And it was the first time I touched alcohol, the first time. Yeah. So again, I mean, I tell that story because I think we all learn through our experience. We learn through our stories. And, it's you got to be real. My son is watching right now. He heard that story when he was young. My daughters, they heard that story when they were young, because you have to educate your kids. You have to talk to your kids. You have to let them know it's real, and things can happen, things can go wrong. And it's not all about, hey, you don't drink, but it's also about, hey, if your friends go and do it, watch out for them, take care of them so they don't get, in a bad spot, because I was in a bad spot. The story's even deeper because somebody took me to the hospital that I didn't even know. My friends went home, Yeah.
Now
So it's
there's
real.
a law.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
Wendy, what's that law that we were a little bit worried about? But it's the law now where if kids in
You are correct. I can't remember what it's called.
Call, a lot of times they don't call because they don't want to get in trouble.
Right.
Absolutely.
They don't want their parents. So now there's a loophole where if they call, they won't be charged if they all blow whatever, because there's too many kids like you, but they were dying.
Yeah.
Because kids would just let them sit there and die versus getting in trouble. That was
Absolutely.
That was the way they waited.
Yeah. Absolutely. So it really is about, it's about, taking care of your friends, but it's about educating your kids, And so that's some of the stuff with Tim coming on that we'll be able to talk about. We'll be able to educate. We'll be able to talk about their program. We'll be able to talk to your kids and the reality of it. It's real. It's there. It is there. As an air medical pilot, I had 659 patient flights. I could tell you some stories about underage drinking, about coming up on, DUIs, on accidents where people I saw it all. So that's another podcast. I could tell stories for an hour and y'all would all be in shock, But so that's exciting. I think that's going to be a pretty powerful part of this summit. And I think people should really be there and watch that. How about Amy? Let's talk about Amy.
Sure.
You have one of the premier nonprofits in the country, obviously.
Yes, like we talked about national speakers, and I know Karesa already mentioned one of them, Carlton Hall, but Amy is from Drug Free America, and I had no idea how big Drug Free America was. I got on their Facebook page, and Matt, wasn't it like 85,000 followers? 85,000 followers,
yeah.
I mean, that's amazing. Now she is the director of Drug Free America. She travels the world just like Carlton. And actually, her and Carlton are often in a lot of the same places. Yeah. But this summit for us kind of evolved from us attending Intersect attending the Drug Free America conference, and that's hosted in Tampa, in a little community. I mean, about the same size of where we live in Anderson. It's called I think it's Brandon, Florida, and I've attended Amy's conference several years in a row, Drug Free America conference, and I just said, well, gosh, we can make our conference that we had, the first one at the summit, we can make it just like Drug Free America. So that's what we did. We brought it back. And so not only does Amy travel the world and present, I think her, like, what she's really known for is speaking and educating others on marijuana use.
Yep.
But she also runs this drug prevention summit once a year, and it's usually in February. But for our summit that's coming up on September 17th, she's going to be talking about teens drug use and the risks associated with it. I don't remember exactly what her title is. Matt, do you have that there?
Right. What we have is teen drug exposure risk and consequences.
Yeah. So she's going to be bringing some data with that.
Yep.
And she is like the guru of this. Like, she's amazing. And I know that, Matt, you've already done a couple, or maybe not a couple, but you've already done an interview with Amy, and that you'll be sharing that on Convene's website as well. We'll be sharing it on our Facebook page as well. And so anyone that wants to know or learn more about what Amy advocates for, or what she's going to be presenting on September 17th, we'll be able to get that.
Yeah, I've been lucky enough. I've interviewed Amy multiple times. It's just so fun interviewing her. She's somebody that just has so much knowledge and just knows so much. And really, when you're listening to Amy, you know that she's been there, she's done it, she knows the information, and she can really educate you. So just again, another person that's going to be wonderful. Talk about Carlton a little bit, because I haven't had a chance to talk to him yet.
Yeah, so Carlton, Karesa might know a little bit more about Carlton, but I'll share what I know first. Carlton, again, is a world-renowned speaker. Years ago, I don't know, 10 years ago or so, he worked for the White House, and he was a part of the drug-free communities world, and he was a speaker for them. He taught all the drug-free communities sessions that would have to, they host these webinars and stuff. And so I think he really got to start there. And from that, he just began doing his consulting on his own, because he learned all about nonprofits and how to be an influencer in the prevention world. So he's full of knowledge, but I mean, even if he didn't have anything to say, you'd want to hear him. Because he is like a dynamic presenter. I know Karesa can agree with what I'm saying. Like, every single time he speaks, you're like, what is he going to talk about? I mean, even if it was just about the weather, you would be excited, because he's just a really dynamic presenter. And I've heard him speak on a variety of topics. I've heard him, gosh, I don't even know how many times, because I've heard him so many times. And I'm never disappointed by what he brings to the table. Have you had a chance to interview him yet?
I have not. Met him yet. I'm really looking forward to it. I love his topic. Become a prevention influencer is the topic that I have down for him right now. Yes. And I just read his bio, and it's going to be impressive. It's going to be fun. You have anything you want to add, Karesa, about Carlton?
Well, Wendy said most of it. He worked for CATCA, Community Anti-Drug Coalitions of America, for a long time. And when you become a new drug-free communities grantee, you have to go through this academy. And he was part of that academy. But Carlton is like somebody that can see through your soul when he's talking to you. He doesn't, I don't know that I have ever seen him upset or angry, or, he's very passionate about what he does. And I'm sure he is, but in his outward life, he's very motivational. Like she said, it doesn't matter if he's talking about the weather or the roads being worked on. You'd be like, I want to be the roads worked on. I want to get involved in that, because that's just the kind of
speak passion.
Passion he brings to his job, and he knows so much. I know Amy knows a lot, and so does Carlton. He's like a walking dictionary on a variety of things, not just on prevention itself, but so I really enjoyed just talking to him the few times that we get to see him at various summits. And I hope that our attendees feel the same way and get the same passion for him, because he is dynamic.
Yeah. So we have, Sam. We don't really have to dive too deep into everybody, but Sam.
Sure.
Yes, that's going to be awesome. I did meet Sam. I haven't interviewed him yet. That's going to be pretty cool. He's a motivational speaker. He's going to talk about recovery. So
yeah, he's got a great story, and we would, like you said, we don't have to go in real deep, but he's got a great story, and I've only heard him once, and after I heard him present, I was like, I'm bringing him in. I gotta get his contact. So his story, I think that you can find a piece of someone that you know, right, in what he has to share. And he doesn't just share like his journey, he shares what as professionals we can do to help reach people that are in recovery. So I appreciated that about him, and I liked the way that he brought it all together. Yeah,
I think that's so cool because, again, I think, you brought it back up. We're going to hear his story and kind of going, we all know somebody. Everybody has somebody that they know. Everybody has a story about recovery. And a lot of people are just out there trying to navigate the waters of how to go through this recovery.
Yeah. And I forgot to mention that one of the things about Sam, he talks a lot about substance abuse and prevention. He talks specifically about that. Even in his recovery journey, he talks about that. And he also spent quite a bit of time talking about the importance of being aware of mental health. Yeah. And how mental health played a role in his journey. So kind of just highlighting some of our other speakers, and I said that this particular summit is going to be about substance abuse prevention and mental health awareness. So we've got Sam that'll be, sharing some mental health pieces. We've got Daryl that is from mental health agency here in our community. It's called Aspire. And he has a recovery story himself, but that's not even what he's going to be talking about. But he'll share about mental health as well. And then, of course, we have Jeff Yalden, who is a suicide prevention speaker, and he is going to take some time and just talk about that tough topic. Yeah.
So I'm glad that you guys are pulling in that suicide prevention into this, because I think that's so important when you're talking in a realm of drug prevention, mental health. A lot of times when people get way down that road, when they're really off the tracks, they think there's nowhere up. And unfortunately, a lot of times it ends up in suicide, or it ends up in an overdose, because, you're just at your end. You don't know how to get out of it.
Well, and not to mention that, and this isn't the case for everyone, and I'm not a physician, I'm not a counselor, but not to mention the fact that so many of our substance abuse problems begin because of an undiagnosed mental health issue that we have. So, we've talked about this before as a coalition and as an agency about the importance of, mental health and substance abuse prevention, how they really go together. Yeah. And how that we really, when we talk about one, we really can't leave out the other. And it's not 100%, but we need to keep that in mind when we're dealing with people that have substance abuse issues, or when we're talking about prevention, the message of prevention.
And a lot of times it's people look at it. I'm glad you said that too, because a lot of times people look at it as two separate things, and it's not. A lot of times it's very interrelated. That'll get you down that road. Yeah. This is going to be exciting. I think this is going to be good. I'm just honored that y'all asked me to be a part of it, so I appreciate. Yeah.
We're glad you said yes.
We're super happy to have you a part of this.
We are super.
And I want to talk about that, Matt. Actually, I want to talk about our partnership with you. Can we talk about that for just a second? Okay. Because one of the things I wrote down because I made some little notes since we were going to do this today, was the experience that people are going to have. Like for me as a, in the social work field, this whole webinar and Zoom and virtual experience is kind of new since COVID, right? Since March. And so I don't know if we have people out there that are watching or listening today that maybe this is kind of a new experience for them as well. But our partnership with you, with Convene, is really going to make this experience, this virtual drug summit experience, similar to the in-person. We've had so many meetings now that in the beginning I was a little bit nervous. I was like, oh my gosh, who is going to want to sit and do this? This is how I was feeling.
Yeah.
But now I've experienced several trainings myself, and I've experienced attending a few summits online. And you and I have connected so many times now. I feel so confident that this experience is going to feel in many ways like it does in person. And I can give examples if people want them, but I just want you to know that it's going to be very similar.
Yeah, it is going to be very interactive. And I think that's an important thing. So we'll be streaming it on a webinar, Zoom webinar. We'll also be streaming it live, which is really cool. So we will get that feedback. We will get those questions. It'll be an interactive process. People will, the speakers, I've already talked to most of them. They will show PowerPoints if they have them, and then we'll go interview style, and then we have Q&A. So you'll get that interaction. And sometimes you don't get that. You don't get that interaction during this speaker when they're live, right? I think that's one of the things that's been really cool is with the interviewing and what's going on is we build on their data, build on their points that they're making or their stories. And then people from the outside, who are watching, asking questions. It's really cool. This has been a great format. And I think it's helped. I think it feels like you're in person.
Yeah. And I think that, at the beginning, I talked about really making sure that we connect and communicate with our audience members. I still feel really positive about that. This is still going to be an experience where you can connect, and we are going to communicate with you through our presentations and through our video blurbs and through, chat boxes and like you said, Facebook Live. And then when you enter into the summit, right, you're going to still be able to connect there. Like if you come to an in-person summit, we often have vendors and we have people that are going to be able to, network with, and we're still going to have that opportunity. It'll look a little different.
Yes. But
I promise you the opportunity is there. Now you might have to do something different than walk around some tables, right? You're going to have to click, and you're going to have to move your mouse and look around and stuff, but there's going to be opportunities there for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say this, if you're watching this video, we're still looking for sponsors. We still like that engagement. We still want sponsors. That's so important. That helps us really spread the news, getting it out there over the next month. We will really be putting information out there for people to share, to really start inviting people to the summit. So all these different things. And then one of the great things, of course, this is biased on my part, but one of the great things is this summit will live on, right? So this summit will live on within the Intersect community, within Convene Communities. And we will be building, every speaker will have their own experience, and you'll be able to go in and watch it. You'll be able to take an experience and get your continuing education, which is so important. If you are able to, or in it to watch for continuing education, that'll be great. And that'll all be in there. It'll be very clear. So it's exciting to me. I think it's been a great partnership. I've really enjoyed working with you guys, and we got a month to go to get it ready. A little over a month. That's going to be exciting.
Yeah. Great.
So Karesa, you're the boss. Why don't you take us out here? What do you want to close out saying? Me and Wendy are just support.
I'm just letting you talk. Well, one thing is, if you can hear my voice, I'm from the South.
Awesome. Where are you from?
I'm a UK fan. I'm from Owensboro, Kentucky. And if you talk to Tim, he is a UK fan as well. So that's one thing we connect with.
Yeah.
He is a big UK fan. I was going to say that when you were talking about him, but I didn't want to interrupt you.
So I'm a Tar Heel, so we have a basketball conflict.
Yeah, that's not good for you. And two is, I just want to reiterate what Wendy said. I actually haven't had to work with you all that much because Wendy and Jennifer from our office have, and our intern Kara, I should say, has stayed in contact with you and your team, and that's great for a boss or that doesn't have to have her hands on everything. I know Wendy was super apprehensive, and it took us a little while to decide: are we going to do it live? Or are we going to do it virtual? And finally, I just said virtual. It's virtual. Now let's find somebody. And so, I'm excited to see through it because I actually don't even know everything that's going to be going on, and I'll be going through it as a participant, just like anyone else. And so if anything goes wrong, that's your and Wendy's fault.
Wendy's fault. It's Wendy.
I'll take the blame. I'm good at it. I'm good at it.
I just encourage anyone that's watching this to sign up on the link. Intersect does have a Facebook page, as well as Convene, and I believe that it's on both, right? It's also on our intersectinc.org website. There's a whole page on there where they can go and register and pay. Like I said, it's a low fee.
It's $29. $29.
Yeah.
$29 for 6 CEUs.
Yep.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's a value.
Yeah, and it's going to be all day, but it's worth it. You're still in your pajamas watching from, TV, from your screen.
Or from your phone.
That's right there, right? We're even giving you lunch, Tom.
That's right.
So, this, in seriousness, it's a big issue. When I get asked about what I do and I say prevention, they're still thinking, "Oh, you're giving little stickers to kids in 5th grade." That's so far away from what prevention is. And it comes in many forms. It comes in information and education. It comes in preventing barriers for people, like you were talking about with drug users that might be in trouble. I know our sheriff's department several years ago started a COT force, and I can't remember what that COT stands for. It's a counseling group, but when they come in contact with someone that's overdosed or is high on substances, you have to remember our police officers aren't mental health providers.
Absolutely.
And he's trying to keep them out of jail. And so he did this many years ago where he recruited a group of volunteers that if it's 3 a.m. or if it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, he can call someone and they can talk to them immediately. It's not that they have to go to jail and sit there for 3 days and then maybe get into a counselor. And he's going to do that as a work together. He doesn't want to put anyone's safety at risk, but he also wants to help the person.
Yeah.
And so that's part of prevention. Even though they're are working on it and will need to be in recovery, he's preventing them possibly going to do that again or going to the hospital.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we also work in policies where we've worked with schools on their drug policies and curriculum policies and smoke-free policies. I would be amiss if I didn't talk about smoke-free air because that's what I do. That's my passion, is tobacco prevention. But and we worked with wellness and then environmental strategies where we've tried to work on some zoning laws with marijuana. So, so it's a large conglomeration of things that is prevention. Yeah. And even treatment people are understanding this now. I went through some CATCA training last week on how treatment and prevention should start working together more because it's not a divide. It takes both, right?
It does.
So I truly encourage people to visit the summit, read about the speakers again, call us if you have direct questions. Our number's on the website, or you can put questions in the Facebook comments or message us. We try to get back to those pretty quickly, and though it's going to be a large team effort for Convene and us and our speakers and to come together to put it on, but we enjoy doing that because we
Yeah.
want people to get that information, and hopefully it will help them in their community.
Yeah. It's going to make a huge difference. And you guys are providing so many good resources. And I think it's really great because I think that's one of the great things about what's happening is you can take this and it's not just inside the building. Now you can reach out everywhere and you're bringing speakers from everywhere. A lot of expertise coming. So I just applaud what you guys are doing. I think it's going to be great. I'm really looking forward to it.
Oh, and I would like to say that our Department of Mental Health, Indiana's
Mhm.
Department of Mental Health, is also a presenting sponsor on this. So
Okay.
they believe in it too, and they're funding quite a bit of sponsorship money for this because they see the benefit in the state.
Absolutely. That's awesome. That's
Well, thanks
great.
for having us, Matt.
Yeah.
Thanks,
It's
Matt.
been awesome. It's been awesome. I really appreciate you guys coming on. I think this will, we'll start sharing it out. This will give a lot of people something to just know what is coming. I think it's going to be great. I look forward to, again, the summit, but I look forward to just keep working with you guys. It's been fun. So anything else? Any last closing comments? All
I
right.
think so. Thanks for having us on.
All right. So you can find at intersect.org, correct?
IntersectINC.org.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we'll make sure we get all these in the show notes and the podcast that we write up, or the blog we write up with it. We'll have also the social media links where everybody can go and they can join. And we'll make sure we just really start sharing it out, get it out there. If you see this and you're interested in it, go look at it, go join the summit. And we're going to have a great time. So thank you so much for being a part of this and coming on the Convene Connections podcast. Tizo, as always, thank you so much for helping produce this. And thank you, ladies. It's been wonderful.
Thank you.
All right. See ya.